Hello, welcome to the next video in the series on CMI Assignment 502. This video tackles Assessment Criteria 2.2, which is part of Task 2, and analyze a process for recruiting team members. Now, we probably haven't covered this in a huge amount of detail on the training program that you would have done. We might have touched on it or talked about it, but this is one of those points that might require you to do a little bit of research inside your own organization. You might need to go and talk to HR, or it may well be that you're already part of it. So maybe you already, play a role in recruiting new team members, in which case you can draw on those experiences. So, but it will just require you to look at your own recruitment process, and we need to analyze it. So just a quick reminder of what we mean by analyze. So we need to break it down into separate parts and examine each part in detail, identify the main issues and show how the main ideas are related to practice and why they're important, reference to current theory, etc. Yep. So we need to look at each stage of the recruitment process, look at how it all fits together, why each step matters. So that would fulfill our analysis. A mistake that people make with this one is simply to describe a recruitment process. We need to go one step further and analyze it. And actually, I would say what we can do here is evaluate it a little bit as well in terms of, look at how it works and could it be better. That's always a really good thing to do as well. Now, I apologize, this is a really wordy slide, and I don't normally do this, but what I thought I would do is I've just gone and found a fairly standard recruitment process. I would say this is probably familiar to anybody who works in a larger sort of organization where there's a fair bit of resource and an HR department. It's likely that your recruitment process could look a little bit like this, but maybe not for every role. Right. So it might depend a little bit on the nature of what you do. So, for example, if you were recruiting volunteer or trainee firemen or fire people, then your process might be quite different to this. Again, so when I went through the military many years ago, it was a very different sort of process with various different stages. It was, five 5 days of being grilled and interviewed before you go anywhere, really. So it will depend a little bit on the specifics of the job. So this is just I suppose, yeah, a fairly generic recruitment process. We've got a job analysis and posting, creating a job description, getting it online. We've got screening and shortlisting, which it says there is done by HR personnel. All well and good if you have HR personnel. Initial interview, then a skills assessment where you might ask the candidates to show that they have fundamental competences or capabilities. So sometimes it's an element of problem solving or testing or working in groups to see how they collaborate, that type of thing. Then a second interview with a usually sort of more senior person to sense check and look at culture fit and that type of thing. Reference checks, and then there's the job offer, where they will accept or not. Sometimes there'll be a bit of bartering around money, sometimes not. Again, all depends on the organization, the nature of the role. And then onboarding, so orientation and kind of that, orientation training, that sort of, this is where the kettle is and all that sort of thing. So that would be a pretty standard approach. And again, you can see there is a bit of a description. So this as itself, however, is just a description. It's not a analysis. So we need to go one step further. So what we need to do, once we've got our recruitment process, we need to look at each element of the process and look at, are they essential? What do they bring? What works? Is there anything that doesn't work? How might you improve that process? So we need to kind of put a bit more of a critical eye on it. All right, let's go back then. Let's do a little bit of analysis here. What could I say about this? Well, it's very laborious. I mean, there are lots of levels. So straight away, it's quite resource intensive. Is every step essential? I suppose you could say that for more significant or senior roles, you might need that second interview, but maybe not for every role. So perhaps you could take step 5 out, perhaps. Interestingly, in terms of skills assessment, I know a business that had this as part of their process. They were recruiting for programmers, technology people to um, help them develop the technology side of the business. They had a few candidates, not that many, even though it was in London. And when they told the candidates that there would be um, a skills audit day, a skills assessment day, where they'd have to come in and demonstrate the competency, all the candidates pulled out. They said no thanks, we're going to work somewhere else. So they didn't do it. No one did it. No one actually showed up. So they had to go back to the drawing board. They realised that such is the demand. Well, this was a couple of years ago, but such was the demand for software developers a couple of years ago that they simply wouldn't entertain doing that. So so there could be a bit of a reality check about, well, if what we're if we're recruiting for a very in-demand and competitive skill set, we probably need to make this a little bit more straightforward for the applicant. Maybe we need to take out some friction points and make it easier for them. The other thing, I suppose, as well, is thinking about inclusivity and things like neurodiversity and that type of thing. When is our approach good for everybody? Are we making sure that everybody has an equal and fair chance? So if you have people who perhaps are neurodivergent, what could we do to make it a little bit more accessible for them? People who perhaps don't necessarily think or work quite so well when they're confronted with questions or challenges on the spot. So, for example, we've got some behavioral questions there. Perhaps what we could do to improve this would be to actually send those questions out beforehand to allow candidates to prepare, to reflect on them, and to come ready to discuss their experiences and their responses. Again, would that make the process a bit more equitable and fairer for neurodivergent applicants? Which again, with the diverse organization, we wouldn't want to exclude any populations, or we wouldn't want to exclude any characteristics. So that might be another thing. It's like, is this really accessible to everybody? So yeah, just a few thoughts really there. So that's it. So it's so that's our analysis. It's kind of breaking it down, looking at how each component works. Is everything essential? Is there anything that doesn't work or could be better? How could we improve it? What recommendations can you come up with to make the process even better? And that's an analysis that demonstrates analysis, a bit of critical thinking around the process, and then we're done. So what I would recommend that you do is have a look at your recruitment process. So either, if that's something that you're already part of, you probably have it to hand. If not, you might need to do a little bit of digging to actually find out what the process is. Describe it and analyze it again critically, just as we've done there. Just look at each component, look at how it fits together. Is every bit essential? And could you improve it in any ways, or any changes that you could make to make it even better? Present some judgments, draw a conclusion as to the value of the approach, the method that your organization uses, and then we are done. Again, just really important to remember to analyze it, don't just describe it. There we go. That would be 2.2. Thank you very much.